What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast, episode number 102, presented by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, and today I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Physical Copy himself, Ethan. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Kevin. It's been a good week. Lots of game stuff going on. Lots of game releases that we're having fun with. And also, I'm watching my in-laws' cat, who is the sweetest little old cat. She
Oh,
does nothing but sleep all day and like paw at stuff, and it's great. She hardly meows. She doesn't scratch. She doesn't do nothing. So she's been chilling with us for the last couple of days. It's been good. It's
oh,
been good.
that's adorable. I love cats. They're so
Yeah.
cute.
hmm
But we are also joined by a very special guest. He is the host of the Game Positive podcast, where he discusses the latest gaming news with enthusiasm, objectivity, and always with a positive spin. He's a senior contributor over at our friends at Season Gaming, where you can check out his fantastic reviews. So please welcome Eric to the show. Eric, how you doing?
Woo!
Hey everybody, thanks for having me. I'm doing good. I'm just preparing for the hurricane that's supposed to hit me tomorrow. Hurricane
Ooh,
Fiona.
Oh,
See how that
okay.
goes. But shouldn't lose power today at least. So hopefully this will be a good chat.
That's the one that's been going through the Caribbean, right? Recently, the
Yeah,
last couple
it's
of
supposed to
days.
like hang a left right when it gets to Atlantic Canada and
Ugh.
smash my house. So we'll see how that goes.
ooh. Well, hopefully,
Get my gaming in tonight.
yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully nothing too bad. We'll be thinking about you. But Eric, before we continue, I always like to give people the opportunity to plug their show. So could you tell people a little more about Game Positive, Season Gaming, anything you want to plug here?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so Game Positive, that's my podcast, also my YouTube channel. I It's a little inconsistent with podcast releases, I won't lie, but I have been pretty good lately. I like to talk about gaming news, the positive sides of things for the most part. I also do reviews and stuff like that. I have a review that I'm quite proud of for Inscription, a video review on my YouTube channel. That'll also be attached to the next podcast if you prefer to listen to it, which is pretty cool. I also am a senior contributor at Season Gaming, which is a really awesome website. There's no sponsors. There's no like spins or anything. It's very like kind of just straight up a bunch of gamers are doing this stuff because they really love video games. So you get a lot of honest takes, a lot of good perspectives over there, a lot of talented writers. And it's all kind of run by Ainsley Bowden or Porsche Power on Twitter, who's one of the best guys in gaming. So highly encourage anyone to check out seasongaming.com for other people's work, including my own. So yeah, I guess that's the
Absolutely.
spiel.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Everyone go check out Eric's podcast and Season Gaming. They do some great stuff over there, as our viewers will know since Aiden's been on a few times, a
Mhm.
friend of the show. But if you want to find this podcast, we are live every Thursday here at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, right on YouTube. If you can't catch us live, we post every Friday morning on all of your favorite podcast service. While you're over there, please drop us a review rating, whether it's on Apple or Spotify. If you leave us a 5-star review on Apple, we will read it live on the show. If you want to interact with us more, please come on over to the Discord. Like new people, I say every week, new people keep joining. So
It's
be one of
crazy.
them. Come on over to our Discord. The link is in the description down below. And if you want to support us further and get early access to all of Save the Game Media's content, like No Limits, Frame by Frame, I Hate My Friends, the Patreon exclusive post shows, podcasts that we're doing now. We got like 7 Patreon exclusive things. Come on over, check that out. Patreon.com/Save the Game Media. Choose the tier that's right for you, just like our current Patreon supporters: Bucky Blue, Hopple, Alpaca Tom, Amon, SAZ, Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Brianna's wife, Anna Hudak, I believe. Hudak.
Yes,
Yes.
Udoc. Yes.
Hudak. And Nikolai at Night. Thank you all for your support. We appreciate every single one of you. But, Ethan, before we go around the room and ask one simple question,
Yeah.
since we have a guest, we
Yeah.
have to ask the guest question. So, Eric, I
hmm
want to know, what was your first Xbox and what was your favorite Xbox franchise?
What was like
What
they're dead
is,
to
I
me now?
guess. Yeah, you could go. Yeah.
Well, my first Xbox was the OG Xbox. And okay, so my favorite Xbox franchise is everybody's favorite Xbox franchise, Halo. So,
hmm
but I want to say something else just to kind of um, make it a little bit more interesting. Let me think for 1 second. Favorite Xbox franchise is probably it's not really a franchise anymore. But I want to say Otogi Myth of Demons for original Xbox and Otogi 2. It's not a franchise
Oh,
anymore, but those games were this will kind of tie into something we're talking about a little bit later. But that was like an exclusive series from Software from Japan for Xbox, and it had insane combat, insane visuals for the time, and like very, very complex kind of physics that you didn't quite see in video games of that era. And they're real expensive now to buy. And I sold my copies to GameStop for like nothing. So I'm really mad
Not
about that.
GameStop.
Yeah, to GameStop.
Hell yeah.
I got the sweater on sale just to, I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna say a random game like Otogi and Halo. Obviously, Halo's the goated.
That's probably the most unique answer we've gotten here, Kevin. That's a crazy shout out.
That's 100% the most unique answer. I honestly
Deep
forgot
cut.
that was a game, to be honest. Not one I've played. I'm familiar with
I was
it.
way too
though.
young. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even get my original Xbox like at launch. I got it when Halo 2 was out because I played Halo 2 multiplayer before the original Halo. So like I went backwards. It was a whole thing. Great answers, Eric. That's awesome.
Yep.
But we can now go to how we start every single show by going around the room and asking a simple question. That question is, what you playing? And our list, I think, is going to be a little long this week since
Yeah.
a bunch of games dropped. So, Ethan, I'm going to throw it over to you first. What have you been playing this week?
Okay, I'm going to start my list off by talking about Metal Hellslinger. I'm a big metalhead, love heavy metal music, always have. I haven't listened to a lot of new stuff. I kind of stick to the classics, but this game has opened my eyes to a whole new world of metal. So I've been listening to a lot of newer metal now, and I'm absolutely loving it. But this game is a rhythm game. It's a first-person shooter, and basically you just got to do your combat to the rhythm. As you get upgrade or as you stack attacks, basically the music just gets more and more intense. Like drums will come in, then a guitar will come in, and then vocals will come in. This game gets you fired up. I haven't stood up playing a game jumping around. I feel like since I was a kid, I don't really do that anymore. Most games you just sit on the couch and play and have a good time, but this one had me up jumping around, and it was an absolute blast. I'm definitely going to play through it. It just has it feels like a smaller indie game, and it does so well with it. It just feels like such a comfortable experience, but it's just so much fun. I love, there's so much passion and love that was put into this game clearly by the developers, and I absolutely adore it. I cannot recommend it enough for people who have the Game Pass subscription. Even if you're not someone who enjoys first person shooters, just at least try it out for the novel experience. But it's absolutely great. But the next one,
Because I did try it.
Yes.
You told me last week, I was like, should I play Metal Hellslinger or should I go play, I forget what PlayStation game I suggested.
Yep.
And you were like, well, try Metal Hellslinger. I tried it, and this game's not for me. This is I wanted to like it because I like the aesthetic. I'm a big fan of Doom, and it's kind of got that vibe going on.
Yeah.
But I could not stand timing my attacks to the rhythm. I just want to be blasting demons. I can't be bothered with that.
And I'm not saying you should try it again, but I'm just saying, like, for me personally, when I first started playing it, I had that same thought. Like, I went through the tutorial and kind of through the first level a little bit, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this. This isn't as fun. But honestly, the more comfortable I got with it and the more I put on headphones, that was a big help for me, because then I have the metal music pumping straight into my ears, and I was getting really deep with the rhythm. It's a sweaty game. Like, you're going to sweat playing this game. You got to focus really hard. But when you're focusing, you're on cloud nine, and it's an absolute blast. But yeah, I almost turned it off early because of that. So I'm glad that I kind of stuck with it. The next game that I want to talk about is Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch Remastered. This was one of the shadow drops from Tokyo Game Show. Absolute blast. I'm not really much of a JRPG player. You guys know I've only played a few of them, and I've been trying to get into more. But this one is very unique to me. It's obviously with the Studio Ghibli art style, which I absolutely adore. I'm a huge fan of Studio Ghibli, and I love the little cut-ins they do with the actual Studio Ghibli animations. I like the combat in this because it's like a quasi turn-based. It's not fully turn-based, but there's kind of timers on the different things that you can do, whether you're blocking or attacking or using a certain power. You have to wait for cooldowns, but you can still run around the little battle area and, try and avoid attacks and all that. But I'm really enjoying this. The only thing is, I didn't realize how big this game was. I thought this was going to be a quick adventure. This is not a quick game.
No.
This is I was taking a look at some of the achievements, and it's like, do 1,000 of this, do 250 of this. I'm like, oh, this is a bigger game than I thought. It's more than I can chew right now. So I don't really have the time for a game this big, but it's sitting there downloaded. I'll probably go back to it during a lull season, which won't be for a while because we all know how October is going to be coming up with all the game releases. But overall, really, really loving that game. Really good addition to Game Pass by Xbox. And then I guess, which one should I talk about first? Deathloop. Yeah, I'll talk about Deathloop first. I don't want to be negative about this game because it's a good game. I enjoy it. The gameplay is fun. The gunplay to me is fun. It's a good arcane shooter. I love Arcane. I love all their games. Dishonored's one of my favorite franchises of all time. But this game it feels to me that this was extremely overrated. With all the 10 out of 10s it got when it came out. I don't really care for a lot of the characters. A lot of them seem very single tone and samey. There's a lot of, and I'm not a prude. I was in the Navy. There's a lot of cussing, and it's not. I'm not saying that you can't cuss in video games. I'm saying that when it sounds forced, it's kind of cringe. So this game has a lot of that, and the jokes just aren't landing for me. I just think the voice actors did an incredible job. I just think they were kind of handed a bad script here. But in terms of gameplay, just in the world alone, I'm absolutely loving it. I can ignore all the problems I have with the different characters, but I love the gameplay. I love the gunplay. I love all the different powers. I love min-maxing different trinkets that you find. It's really fun. So I'm going to keep on that. I hear it's not a very long game, probably 12 hours, honestly, to just get the finality of killing all the visionaries and stuff like that. So I'll definitely be continuing on. And Kevin, I know you played a bit, so do you want to jump in?
Yeah, nothing much. I only played an hour and a half of it. Another game, not for me. I wanted to jump in, give it the old college try because of the 10 out of 10s, that everyone was raving about it. I've never really connected with arcane games. I think Prey is the only one I actually enjoyed thoroughly. Even then, I didn't get to the end of Prey, but I jumped in. And I don't like the way this game feels to play. It's just not enjoyable for me. So I'm not going back to it. I'm glad everyone else can play. I'm glad I see a lot of people loving it, enjoying it. It's not a Kevin game at all.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those games where it's like, all right, good luck, have fun. And what I mean by that, it just plops you in the world, and it's like you got to figure these things out. And I actually really like it how it's implemented in this game, how you kind of unlock different, things from things you read around the environment and different consoles, and you kind of connect a story together. And this person has a relationship with this visionary, maybe I can catch them in their secret meetup spot, or there's a party going on and this person's going to a party, and if I do this, another visionary will go to I love doing all those little things to try and move blocks around to get people together so that you can kill them all in one run. So I really enjoy that aspect of it. So I will probably finish this game, and I'll probably be talking about it the next couple of weeks. But the last game, Kevin, this is very much a me game. I don't recommend this for anybody because this is probably nobody's going to play this. It's the best game for me. It's Hard Space Shipbreaker. Okay, this game just got recently released on Game Pass. Basically, you're this guy, right? You sign up to this company called Lynx Corporation, and you're part of the salvaging division. And all you do is break down spaceships and put them in their proper receptacles. And so there's kind of a puzzle aspect where you have to deal with compartment pressurization, and you have to kind of navigate around cutting up this ship without damaging too much resources to make money to pay off some debt that you have to the company. It's straight up simulator game, but I think it's really well done. The space physics are really awesome in it. You get a gravity gun to be able to move stuff around. You can upgrade your gravity gun and your cutter and everything. And then as you progress through the ranks, you get bigger and bigger ships. Right now, I'm actually paused on a screen. I'm working on this huge tanker right now that's taking me probably an hour and a half, and I'm only halfway done with the ship. But I'm absolutely digging it. It's a great game. It's definitely a me game. I don't recommend this for everybody. You know who you are if you're part of the audience that likes this game, if you like those simulator experiences. So go out, get this. It's one of the greatest sims I played in a really long time. If you're not necessarily a fan of simulators, just stay away from it. You're not going to like it.
Sounds like you've had a busy week, but I'm glad you found some stuff you enjoyed, though.
Oh, yeah.
Eric, I'm now going to pass it over to you. What have you been playing?
All right, so my list is a bit weird because I have this weird OCD thing where I have to be playing something from every platform. I don't like to just zone into one for too long. So I have kind of a wide spread here. On Nintendo, I am at the last boss actually of Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I played that game at launch, and I kind of just been chipping away at it like ever since, like slowly, because it's a game where you can kind of just play a battle and then put it away for a while. The game's fantastic. I'm just trying to get it finished before the next one comes out soon. Sparks of Hope. It's actually like that and Immortals Phoenix Rising are probably like one of the best Ubisoft games we've seen in like the last few years. Which is not necessarily a diss because those games are like really, really, really good. But I think both of them are underappreciated as well. Also on Switch, I'm making my way through Neon White, which is a kind of an
Heard good things.
indie shooter. It's so good. It's so like stylish. Essentially the elevator pitch would be like if you took the Gauntlet run from Titanfall 2, like that tutorial mission where you have to like parkour through like that little practice run in a certain amount of time. If you take that and like kind of expand it into a fully fledged game with like kind of an anime storyline and a little bit of card battler mixed in, it's that, which is like really, really cool. And the music's fantastic. It's just overall, it's just an awesome game and kind of like super weird on Nintendo. I just had this urge randomly last weekend to buy a Wii U because I just never played one, never touched one, never owned one. So I picked one up on the weekend, used from some person, and then I bought a lot of games, like a lot, like like a bundle. Someone was selling a bunch at once, not like anyway. And that lot happened to actually have another Wii U in it, so technically I have 2 Wii U's now, which is weird. And
That's
so I'm
funny.
playing Nintendo Land with my daughter, which is really, really fun. Playing Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, which I think might be one of the best 2D platformers.
Yeah, thank
ever.
you. It's so good. Me and our No Limits host Taylor love this game. We will not stop preaching about Donkey Kong.
It might be the best. Like I still have to finish it before I can claim that, but I'll probably honestly pick it up again on Switch too because it's super good. And I'm just starting Wind Waker, which I've never played before. So
you're in for a treat there.
Wow, yeah.
So hyped about that. On PlayStation, I'm wrapping up the DLC for Spider-Man Remastered. I just got the platinum in the campaign after getting it as well on PS4. Fantastic game, probably my favorite superhero game ever. Close battle between that and Batman Arkham. The DLC is surprisingly good. I didn't expect the DLC to have like this kind of continuing storyline that kind of like connects them together with the main game and kind of bridges the gap between Spider-Man and Miles Morales a little bit too, which is really nice. Just overall fantastic. I want to wrap that up so I can make some room on my PS5 for God of War. So hoping to get that done soon. On Xbox, I did play Deathloop. I really like the style of it. Like it just like is like oozing with style and the music's really good. But I was having like very strange like glitches. Like I would say probably 10% of the bullets that came in my gun made a noise. And it was just like all these weird audio bugs and like frame rate issues. So I actually uninstalled it and like cleared my cache and reinstalled it. And I never got to go back yet. I probably only put an hour into it, but everybody I talked to says it's awesome. So yeah. I am eager to get back into that. And then this might be really weird for this podcast. I don't know, but the game I've played the most for sure in the last like couple weeks is definitely World of Warcraft Classic Burning Crusade pre-patch.
Hell yeah.
Trying to get leveled up for Burning Crusade or not Burning Crusade, sorry, Wrath of Lich King, which is launching on September 27th. I have the day booked off work. I'm trying to decide if I want to play as my hunter or my warrior. They're both kind of max level, so I'm just tying up loose ends in Burning Crusade and waiting for the boat to Northrend. So that's what I'm playing.
Those were the World of Warcraft expansions I played like on the original, like back in the day. Like those were when I was in, and then after Wrath of the Lich King, I just fell off the game.
Yeah,
dude, it's time to come back, man. Come back. You can do it. It's awesome now. It's honestly like I think it's the best. Like there's definitely like a lot of caveats here because there's a lot of like types of gamer you need to be, but I think it's one of the best multiplayer experiences you can have in gaming, like full stop right now, because it is one of the only kind of popular games left that really embraces social interactions. Most multiplayer games now, they kind of push social interactions to the side in an effort to make things more convenient.
Yeah.
So like if you've played Destiny before, for example, if you want to do a dungeon in Destiny, you press a button, it maps you with like 3 other people who may as well just be NPCs. You don't communicate with them, know their name, talk to them, interact with them at all, complete this thing together and then move on and never see them again. In World of Warcraft, it doesn't work like that. At least in classic World of Warcraft, like you literally have to like find them in the world, talk to them, convince them to come help you, walk to the dungeon together, get there, and like it's like just those little things. And there's all kinds of other little things that are like that. It just makes it feel like a world. The fact that you can walk from like one end of the world to the other end of the world and it would take forever, but you could do that. It's not just like instances that are connected by loading screens.
Yeah.
It just makes it feel like this place. And it's unbeatable right now. It's my favorite thing that I'm playing right now for sure.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it's rebounded, because I know it was dipping at one point. People were going to Final Fantasy, but that's sweet. That's awesome, Kent. I doubt I'll go back to it just because of the monthly fee, but it's good to hear.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll put that in Game Pass soon. Who knows?
Now you're talking my language. That would be
nuts.
Now we got something. But I will wrap up our What You Playing segment. Something just fell in my bathroom. I got the platinum for Tome over on PlayStation, which was a very cute, charming indie game. You just take pictures of things, kind of like paparazzi, Ethan.
Hell yeah! Game of the year, shout out.
Yeah, it was a very easy platinum. I think about 3.5 hours. Really enjoyable. Not really much more to say there. I played Tinykin, Ethan, the game you recommended to me. You were like, Kevin, I think you would like this game. It's a 3D platformer, kind of meets Pikmin-esque type game. Yo, I loved this game.
Yes, good.
This game was amazing. I beat the whole thing. I would love to go back and 100% it. I actually I was talking with the devs earlier about a update to add like one of the collectibles is pollen, because essentially you're shrunken down to a tiny little character and you're in a house. So the environments are room by room. You go, like one's a bedroom, one's the attic or whatever. And scattered out is like pollen, and then a few other, like there's like 3 quests in every room, whatever. It's very cute, very unique. But when I get to 1,197 pollen out of 1,200, I'm like, I missed one collectible. And it's not like it's small. It's like they're huge. These areas are huge and they're hidden. I'm like, in what world am I ever going to be able to find one? And it's not just one room. I did this in every room. I missed like one thing. And I'm like, I need something. They're like, we're thinking about it. We might put the update.
And it's not like normal collectibles in games where you can go to like IGN and look up a guide because there's like 13 of them. No, there's 2,000.
No, yeah,
there's no list for that.
Hundreds of these little clusters on every map. So fantastic game. I would love to go back and get the 100% because that's literally all I'm missing is collecting the pollen in every area, and it'd be a quick wrap up if we had some sort of identifier. But Game Pass for anyone interested. I think it's also on Switch. It's probably on PlayStation. I'm not sure, but I know it's on Switch for sure. I already talked about Deathloop. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. I tried that, didn't like it. Not for me. It's an auto combo fighter and didn't really click. Didn't feel great.
That the one we saw at Tokyo Game Show? Was that one of the fighters?
No, that's Blaze Blue Cross.
Blaze Blue.
That's different. That's different. This is a completely different series, developer, everything. My Trails. I can finally talk about this game. I reviewed Trails from Zero. NIS gave me a code. The review is up on the channel for anyone that hasn't seen it. Please go check that out. I'm not going to go super in depth. They're bringing the Western port over, or the Eastern game over. Finally get a Western port. So I enjoyed it, but go check out my full thoughts there. The Diofield Chronicles came out today, but I took a little flight to New Zealand last night so I can play it. I love this game, man. This game's so good. I'm over the moon doing every side quest. The real-time strategy aspect is getting me. Like, I adore this JRPG. I'm just a sucker for these Square games where it's like medieval strategy like Triangle Strategy was what it's like. Oh, it sounds stupid. I love that game so much.
And they have like 10 of them a year, Kevin.
I know, and I'm loving it. Like, keep it coming, Square.
Yep.
So I'll have more to say on that next week, because I think I'm halfway done, because it says 6 chapters and I'm on chapter 3. So, but the last game I want to talk about, Nobody Saves the World, came out with the DLC for this game, the Frozen Hearth. This is still my front runner for game of the year right now. I'm
Nice.
telling you guys, Nobody Saves the World is so good. It's so much fun. Like it plays really well. Co-op is the best experience I've had this entire year with it. The DLC adds it's a Coliseum, and you have to collect medals by doing 4 challenges per floor. And the challenges aren't just combat challenges, which is why I thought they were when I went in. And I was like, oh, I'm broken. Like my character and my brother's character set up, we're broke. Like we just stand there and let everything die in a few seconds.
Yeah.
No, these challenges were like, the room is full of darkness except for these tiny little lights. And if you go into the dark, you start the race over, get to the end of the race.
Oh, wow.
And we're like, how do you even do this? We figured it out, got every medal, got all the forms to max level. So I love this game so much. If you haven't played it, please go play this game.
And play it co-op, because single player
Yes.
can be kind of a slog, as I can attest to.
100%.
So you're putting this ahead of Elden Ring, just so I'm clear. I thought I heard that.
He refuses to play Elden Ring.
I'm not a Souls guy. So
It's not a Souls game. It's Elden Ring, man. It's not Elden Souls.
It's on its own, Kevin. It's special.
No. FromSoft is not a developer for Kevin. I'll tell you what, that's no. But yeah, Nobody Saves the World is my game of the year. All right, that's all that matters.
Cool.
But maybe it'll change. We got lots of releases coming out in October, November, December. God of War coming out.
Too many.
Oh man, I can't wait. It's about to pick up right after I finish Divefield Chronicles. Then we're diving in. So
yeah,
hopefully I'll be playing a Plague Tale by the time I finish.
I can't wait, Kevin.
That's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
But we can head on over to our news stories. So why don't you guys have a seat while I grab some books from the library and tell you this week's stories. Story number 1. Sunday saw a massive GTA 6 leak. And this comes from Jordan Midler at Video Game Chronicles. On the GTA forum, a user by the name of Teapot Tuber Hacker posted the leaks and the, quote, the footage, which includes open world gameplay, which is alleged to be from GTA 6 and appears to be legitimate. The leaked clips seemingly confirm previous reported details from Bloomberg that will feature 2 characters, one being female. The hacker later updated his post saying that he wanted to, quote, negotiate a deal and claiming he had the source code for GTA 5 and GTA 6. Rockstar confirmed the leak, saying, quote, we recently suffered a network intrusion in which an unauthorized third party illegally accessed and downloaded confidential information from our systems, including early development footage for the next Grand Theft Auto. At this time, we do not anticipate any disruption to our live service game, nor any long-term effect on the development of our ongoing projects. We are extremely disappointed to have any details of our next game shared with you in this way, and we're committed to continuing work on the next entry to exceed expectations. Eric, I'm going to throw it over to you first as the guest. What do you think about the leaks as I'm getting blasted in the face with sun? I assume you saw these. We're not going to tell you where to go find any of these leaks, but we're just going to report the news. So what are you thinking?
So yeah, I know that the leaks exist. I didn't actually seek them out or look at them. I think that it sucks for the developers because when you work on a piece of software or you work on any type of project that is intended to be seen by other people, and you are not in control of when it's like, quote, done and when it's ready for them to see it, then that does definitely suck. I think that it shines a light a little bit on how like little like people know about how games are made and like software development in general because of some of the takes I've seen on the internet where like the one dude who said that like graphics are the first thing that is completed in a video game, and like this is what like that was really, really bad. I feel like the average person thinks that like how you make a video game is like you build level 1 and then it's done, and then you build level 2 and then that's done, and you keep going until you get to the last level, which is absolutely not the case. Like most video games look like complete disasters until about like 6 or 9 months before they ship, and that's when it kind of all starts to come together because nothing is built linearly. It's all built crazily. I'm not a video game developer, but I am a software developer, and I can't even tell you how this stuff happens. It's like actual magic. So to see people like give these insane takes is kind of disheartening. I wish that people kind of had at least a vague idea of how the sausage is made, so maybe they can understand A, why this is a bad thing for the developers, and B, why they probably shouldn't worry about what Grand Theft Auto is going to end up looking like. I do think it's funny though, and kind of encouraging how other developers kind of came together to support them with sharing that meme of like how our graphics are the first thing that's done. This is how Control looked like before it
My,
got polished and
my
stuff like that.
favorite was Gorilla showing Horizons. He's like, here's what
Yeah.
Lockjaw, Thunderjaw, or whatever looked like. It was like like squares, and I was like, that's a dinosaur.
Yeah, man. And that's like my little I know about game dev. Like, yeah, games are a complete disaster until they go gold or until the polishing phase happens, which is the last thing. And yeah, I don't know, dude. I it sucks for developers. I don't think it's gonna have any impact at all on Grand Theft Auto 6 in terms of its like critical and commercial success. I think that's an IP that is just going to be successful. Like they would have to try really, really hard to make that game flop. Like I don't even know if it's like a feat that mankind could achieve to make that game flop. So I don't think this is going to have any impact on that. It just all it really does is it robs all the artists and the developers that put all this time into this game. It robs them from having that moment where people see some of this stuff for the first time, which is a shame.
No, absolutely. I think we're on similar pages where I'm not even a Grand Theft Auto fan, but the fact that it was leaked like this, I was like, that sucks for the people working on it because they've kept it so hush hush. Like they clearly, first of all, the build is 3 years old, I think.
It was 2019.
2019, yeah. So it being revealed in this way is the worst way possible because we all knew it was coming. It's supposed to be like a grandiose thing because of the level of Grand Theft Auto's on, right? Like the reveal was gonna be huge, and now everyone
it's
has
still gonna be huge.
It's still gonna be huge, but now you have all these people online that saw these screenshots or whatever videos, whatever they saw of a product that is going to look nothing like that, and that's what's going to be in their mind. It kind of tainted, like they don't, like I said, they don't understand game development. They don't understand how the process works. Like polish is the last thing that goes on in these games. It just sucks for the developers for sure. My thing is the audacity of this hacker is phenomenal.
Definitely got some
man.
balls on him.
He dropping his Venmo to be like, if you want to pay me, we can like, bro. Nobody's going to pay you. You committed a crime and then you linked your personal information for the FBI to come find you. Like, what an absolute idiot.
Yeah. He must be living in a place that you can't be like extradited from or something. I don't know.
Well, I will say I did some reading on this, and it's right now the running theory is that he's part of a hacker group called Lupus, I think it's called, or Lupus or something like that. And it's allegedly based out of the United Kingdom, somewhere around Oxford is what they think right now. So if he is in the United Kingdom, they will send his ass over here to face charges. But I'm really glad
Rockstar
to
is
see
in the United Kingdom, right?
they're everywhere. Don't they have a studio?
Well, I'm sorry, the studio that makes Grand Theft Auto, I think, is in like the core like office.
Oh, maybe.
Like I'm pretty sure like he would get charged. I mean, I don't really know. I know the first Grand Theft Auto was made.
Google tells me they're based in New York City.
Okay. So he's coming.
But he's coming over
coming
here
to visit New York City.
But I was happy to see that statement that they put out that this isn't going to affect the development of the game. That was my biggest worry, that this was going to, because he does have source code of both GTA 5 and GTA 6, and that's obviously a big problem. And I do want to drive home the point that this person absolutely is a criminal. His main target was that source code, and he wants to ransom it. And I bet you when he was in there, he got these videos and these images and everything just to make himself seem like a good person in the eyes of the public, because everyone obviously wants to see so much of GTA 6. But this is not a good person, and we should not be praising him at all. He's a criminal, and at the end of the day, he's going to face consequences, hopefully, if they can catch him. We've seen plenty of examples of hacking groups get away with stuff like this. Hopefully that's not the case here. But yeah, it is really disheartening. I really do feel bad for the folks over at Rockstar. This game has probably been in development for really, really long time, probably well before 2019. Obviously, this is going to be one of the biggest games ever to be released. I mean, to go after GTA 5, you have to go out crazy, and it's a lot of hard work that they got to put in on this. And Rockstar historically has been pretty good at keeping a lid on things. There's been tiny little leaks here and there. I think GTA 4 had a couple leaks of like a map or something, and then GTA 5 had a couple leaks, maybe of a character and a couple story plots, but nothing to this extent. But yeah, it is really sad to see. I hope the devs aren't disheartened by this, and I hope they know that everyone that actually cares about video games is fully on board with this and excited about their next project. And yeah, I was gonna say too before both of you guys said it, people out there on Twitter, y'all are fools. That this is game development. It's ugly. It's not a pretty thing. We've seen game dev footage before, released voluntarily by multiple studios, and it never looks great. But that's the nature of these things. So still really excited for GTA 6. I can't wait to see how they reveal it.
Sam in the chat says, imagine if it was Dan Allen again. For those that don't know, Dan Allen Gaming was revealed to be some fake insider who actually was just breaking non-disclosure agreements and posting stuff for clout on Twitter accounts. So,
Yikes.
yeah, great life choices people are making. Ty Talk says, did people actually watch the leaked videos? I find it strange people want to spoil things for themselves.
I saw some.
I didn't.
I did, because that morning when it happened, if you went on Twitter, you were probably going to see something, right? And I definitely did some scrolling, and I saw a bunch, because I went to the trending thing, and I'm not against seeing leaked footage. I'm not I don't like care about crazy spoilers, and honestly there's nothing really spoilery about it except for the location, and even then I kind of thought it was going to be that location. I'm not going to say anything here because I don't want to spoil it for anyone else, but yeah, I saw a few, but I don't want to speak on them because they weren't legitimately obtained or anything.
Yeah, I also
go ahead.
You can go, Eric. You're the guest.
Okay.
Please take the floor.
Yeah, all I was gonna say quickly is most of I think what was spoiled was like, or I guess shown in the leaks was like just like kind of visual shots or like kind of glimpses of what the game and the world looks like, which is like years from being finalized and finished. So it's probably going to look nothing like that. And it's nothing as bad as like what was spoiled with The Last of Us. I know Neil Druckmann even commented on this. I think that The Last of Us spoilers is very obvious that hurt the game. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Last of Us Part 2 should be one game of the year. It's one of the best games of all time. Neil Druckmann is one of the best writers of all time. Naughty Dog. Anyways, but that reveal that was leaked and spoiled, definitely, because like they just got it out of context and they didn't get it to, they didn't receive that spoiler how they were intended to receive it when they play the game, and like everything that happens in and around all of that stuff. So it really hurt the game going forward. I think that's why it didn't sell as well as they kind of expected. I think it kind of created this negative cloud around it. And I don't think anything like that was spoiled here. I don't think there's any like major narrative things. I don't even think like people really play GTA for that reason, at least it's not as much as they would The Last of Us. So I think that it's relatively fine in terms of what was shown. So I don't, like I said before, I don't imagine this hurting the game in any way.
No. And last thing that we can move on is him being like, "Oh, I'm gonna drop the source code online." Bro, do you know how hard it is to do anything with source code? Like, people are just getting through Nintendo 64 source code games. Like, and those things are like 32 megabytes. You're gonna drop 60, 80 gigabytes worth of source, like,
especially like Rockstar.
Yes,
like these are big games.
See you in 120 years, like people can finally decode that. Like,
it's just good luck trying to use it and not getting sued either.
Yeah. For real though.
The big problem with source code though is people trying to find vulnerabilities within it to be able to get into things. So like if there's anything about payment systems, like an online store with GTA 5 or something, that's the big concern, because you can find vulnerabilities using source code. It's not, most people aren't going to fully reconstruct a game with source code. It's really just to find out how you can get in there. But hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully they catch this guy.
We got a question in the chat. Ty Talk said, question for you guys. The leak was supposedly meant to spite Naughty Dog for their crunch culture. Are leaks okay in this sense to send a message to management? No.
No.
Yeah, I would disagree. If that
No.
is true, like I'm assuming he's talking about the Naughty Dog, the Last of Us leak.
Yeah.
If that is true, like the people that will get the most harm from that leak, like let's assume that Naughty or Last of Us Part 2 was going to sell 2 or 3 times as much as it did, and it sold way less because of the leak. The major people that get hurt because of that is like the artists, the writers, the coders, the environment artists, the concept artists, like all the people that you would technically be in the trenches with. Those are the people that are going to lose their balances. They're going to lose the ability to put this success on their resume, or at least the weight of what the success would have been on their resume. It damages their legacy, because in game development, like, or any field where you're an artist, like, your legacy is really important. Like, everything that you were able to accomplish is very, very important, because it's visual media and it's something that comes with you or goes with you wherever you go. So the people at Sony, like, if The Last of Us 2 didn't meet projections, then all that's going to happen is either people are going to get fired that you worked with. The people at the top are going to keep their jobs and move on to the next game. Like, you're not going to send anything. Maybe they'll even make you crunch even more, because this game obviously wasn't a success with the amount of crunch that they employed. So, like, I'm not advocating for crunch or anything like that, but that's kind of like, yeah, you're just like blowing up yourself and innocent people just to send some weird message. I think that if that was the case and that's why it was leaked, then very poor decision making by the leaker.
Yeah, and like you could just as easily go find a video games journalist at one of the major outlets and do an anonymous interview with them, and it would blow up overnight. Especially with a big studio like Naughty Dog, if you wanted to expose crunch culture, there would be no reason to leak stuff to try and send that message. I think that would honestly mute the message completely, because nobody's going to care about the troubles of crunch when they're looking at spoilers for your next big game. So, yeah, if that was the case, that person picked the wrong avenue to make that message. Kevin, you're muted. Some host you are, Kevin.
I don't know how I got muted. That's the internet just broke me. Yeah, I said I'm 100% aligned with you guys. I don't really have much to add, except that would be the most petty way to do anything, like, and not professional. So just like,
If that was the case, he was disgruntled. Like, he was
yeah,
on the
yeah.
way out and he was mad about something.
For sure. We can move on to story number 2 though, guys. Xbox has seemingly committed to Japan, and original Japanese titles are apparently in the works. This comes from Andy Robinson over at Video Game Chronicles, who says Sarah Bond, Microsoft's corporate VP of gaming, was asked during an IGN Japan live stream if Xbox owners should expect original Japanese Xbox published titles in the future, similar to Xbox 360's Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey. Sarah Bond responds, quote, "Completely. One of the things I'm super excited about is that we have over 250 developers in Japan developing games for Xbox right now. 150 have already shipped. 100 of them are in Game Pass. And we got to announce 15 titles made in Asia and 13 in Japan. So much has come, but there's even more that's going to come in the future, and I can't wait to reveal it all to you." Phil Spencer acknowledged the demand for original Japanese games on Xbox and said, quote, "We're working on creating such titles." In an interview published by Game Watch, he added, quote, "It's not too much to hope for. We just met with Kojima and many other game creators to talk about bringing unique titles to Xbox. We understand that many game fans want that. We are also aware of common desire for games from Japan. We're working on creating such titles, so please look forward to it." Ethan, I'm going to throw it over to you. Sounds like we might be getting some original Japanese games on Xbox.
Yeah, this is awesome, because the conversation that we've had about Xbox expanding into Japan has mostly been focused on how do we get third-party publishers to put their games on Game Pass, to bring them to Xbox and off of exclusivity of other consoles. We want Xbox to have a bigger ecosystem in Asian game making, and I never even thought of having a first party or an Xbox exclusive JRPG. That's something that really entices me. They talk about some of these older IPs. I haven't played them, but I would love to see them come forward. Maybe I'll go play them after this. You know, you never know if they're on Game Pass. But yeah, they are perfect. But that's really, really exciting to hear. I did see that tweet by Phil Spencer when he went and met with Kojima. Those were some cool pictures that they put out of them together. You know, Kojima's always showing off some of his statue collections and everything like that. I saw some pictures of them in their studio. It was absolutely beautiful to see, because I'm a huge fan of Kojima and Phil Spencer. So it's really nice to see them together, working together. But yeah, just the continued push into the Japanese market. It's benefiting everyone. And I'm really excited to see what the future holds.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we talked when we live reacted to the Tokyo Game Show about like this is exactly what we expected
It was
and they
such a
need to
good
do,
show.
right?
Yeah.
Like they got so many IPs that have been on other platforms. They're bringing over to Xbox.
Hmm.
Yes, it's not at launch, but
Right.
it shows a commitment. Like, hey, for the future of these franchises, like they're gonna Persona 6. Like I fully expect that to be on Xbox day one.
Oh yeah.
Like it just sets the precedent that hey, you can expect these games going forward. And like Phil said, like I think he said half of the new users to Japan or Asian markets are Series S owners. So like we've talked multiple times about like Cloud Series S really
Hmm.
pushing in that area. They are killing it. And the thing that's been missing is what is Xbox going to publish? That's a Japanese game.
Right.
We have why what's the team that made Ghostwire Tokyo? I'm drawing a blank here.
Tango.
There you
Tango.
go.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have Tango, a Japanese studio, but they just went. So it's gonna be a while before
Right.
we see anything from them. If they are working with other Japanese partners already to develop exclusive Japanese games, like we saw Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey, which Ethan, I know you said you might try those. I don't know if those will be your jam because they tend to be turn based. Just
Oh
saying,
no! Come on.
not really for you. But those are the things that we need. I'm not even saying those IP, just similar ideas, things that traditionally are Japanese focused. Bring
Yeah.
them, give them a chance, put them in Game Pass, see what the market, because they're, even if the market isn't as big, there still is a market. Like I bought Diofield Chronicle on Xbox. I'm gonna buy Final Fantasy Crisis Core Reunion on Xbox. Like I am doing my best to to support the Japanese initiative over on Xbox. So I can't be the only one. There's definitely more people out here asking for it. But Eric, I'm gonna go to you. You a big Japanese fan?
Yeah, so I grew up pretty much almost like maining Xbox, I guess is the way to put it. So I missed a lot of awesome games from Japan, like without having a PlayStation or Nintendo. I have since kind of fixed that, and I definitely try to like kind of spread my game time evenly across everybody now. And I can, at least in my personal opinion, I think that Japan has like some of the most creative minds in gaming. I think a lot of gaming innovation, a lot of innovation in storytelling and just like different mechanics and stuff like that. I think that they are such a massive part. I think a lot of developers or kind of the mindset of developers in Western countries, whether that's like America, Canada, or like even a lot of places in Europe, I think that they are super, super talented and they make great games, but I think they have a similar kind of shared mindset in terms of what they're doing in some cases. And Japanese games just seem to be a little bit more out there and interesting, because it's just such a small place that has such a massive output and creativity in video games. And kind of to piggyback a little bit off what Ethan was saying, it's nice that they are kind of getting back to what they used to be, because I say I missed a lot of the Japanese stuff. I missed a lot of the Japanese stuff on Nintendo and PlayStation, but during the 360 era, which I don't know how much variety you guys had in your libraries, but there was a huge effort from Xbox to put exclusive content from Japan on those consoles, that kind of just like faded away. I don't know what happened. If they just, I know that they didn't sell particularly well. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
have a suspicion that like the Xbox a gamer like wasn't necessarily ready for that at the
Yeah.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, for me, like if my kind of generation and like my group of friends, like the people who were like teenagers to like low 20s when the 360 was around, like if that was like the core, I don't think that many of those people that were playing Halo, that were playing Call of Duty, playing Gears of War, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that a lot of that audience gravitated towards it as much, and there wasn't anything
Right.
like Game Pass that made jumping into those things really really easy. So I think that could have had something to do with it. But like I have receipts here, and Xbox, like they crushed it in Japan on the 360. Like you have exclusive from software games like Ninja Blade. Didn't review super well, but like that game is really awesome. You have exclusive Xbox games from Bandai with Tenchu. Like
Hmm.
you have everything's covered here. You have exclusive
Oh,
Tales
I
games.
love Tales of
You have
Vesperia.
Nice.
exclusive games from Square Enix. You have exclusive Japanese games from Konami.
That's nuts.
Sequels. This is the game that you should play, Lost Odyssey. It is turn-based, but it's fantastic. You have tons of games from Square Enix. Like these are all Square Enix JRPGs.
Man, look at
And
that.
like these games, this is kind of a big deal. They're not like the best in the series, but this was like Square's like kind of first foray into like the high def versions of
Mhm.
Final Fantasy.
Yep.
And all three of these games, they're multi-platform, but they were revealed on the Xbox stage on E3, and they had Xbox marketing. They definitely were not PlayStation exclusive. And currently right now, the best way to play these games is on the Xbox because they're Xbox One X enhanced. But my point is that Xbox had this massive kind of push to do this. To what they're doing right now, they tried it already in 360. I don't know what happened. Like I said before, I think it has something to do with just like the audience that they had kind of built up just wasn't ready for that. But now with Game Pass, like people that may have been interested but not like willing to drop $60 on a brand new game, especially if you're like a teenager and like you work for minimum wage flipping burgers or whatever, and your friends are already playing Halo. Like now you can just jump in on Game Pass, and I think that as a whole, like a lot of the core audience of Xbox have kind of grown up a bit. I definitely have, and they're willing to try new things. So I think now's the time, and I think if they're willing to spend the money and get in the good graces again of these developers, because I think whatever it was that stopped them from spending this money, whatever it was that caused them to cancel games like Scalebound and stuff like that, I think that kind of soured the relationship a little bit. A lot of that was the previous regime. So I think that's why you start seeing Sony get like what I call passive exclusives, like what Yakuza used to be, where they're not really paying for it to be exclusive. The developers just don't want to put it on Xbox. And it just like, I don't think that stuff's happening anymore. And they've done a lot of work to get big franchises back to Xbox, like Dragon Quest. The first ever Dragon Quest just came out on Xbox a few years ago, which is huge because that's one of the biggest franchises in Japan. So yeah, I think it looks good. I think it's very important to be to have the Japanese kind of side of gaming on board. PlayStation and Sony both do, and they're both very, very, very successful. So all good signs.
And I think what Phil is doing too that is making it work so well is he's just diving into the deep end on this. He's not, weaning Xbox fans onto these games. He's going after Atlas, after Kojima. And that not only introduces people to the best that Japanese gaming has and get them into the fold, it also shows Japanese developers like, oh God, they got big dogs working with them, and it encourages them to work with them more. And I think that's great. Oh, there's an audience on Xbox. We can put our games on there and people are going to enjoy it. Look at these sales numbers. Yeah. So I think it's really great that Phil is taking this huge leap into the Japanese market. It's really great to see.
Yeah. And putting it on Game Pass kind of helps with that reservation too. Cause if they're like, well, I don't know if it's going to sell well, like a lot of older games on 360, early Xbox One didn't sell well. Well, then it's just like, well, here's like a big stack of cash.
You'll get your money up front.
There's all your money. And then whatever else happens. Then it's a lot less risk for them. And then once they put it on Game Pass and start seeing the numbers and start selling DLCs, then like Kevin said, the Persona 6s of the world will come to Xbox because of how well Persona 5 might do on Game Pass. So
yeah, no, it's one of those things where we're getting there. There's still work to do, and I forget what site, but someone posted an article. It's like Xbox wants Japan, but it's like an unrequited love. Like Xbox is trying so hard to get Japanese gamers on board, and they're not really adapting yet. Like they're doing better, and we've talked about that before. Like the Xbox Series X and S are selling way better than the Xbox. Like it already passed the Xbox One, but that's because, as you said, Eric, I firmly believe that the people on the 360 era, like the 360 games, right, were Call of Duty, Halo, Gear, like they were those. It was the bro shooter box. Like that's kind of what we all associated it with, right? So it wasn't the single player Japanese role playing experience, which is a lot of what was coming out from Japan at that time. So when the Xbox One was like, well, what's the point? Like we got like 2,000 units sold in Japan right now. Now we're seeing a different story. I think Phil at the head knows that this is a market that even if they're never going to beat PlayStation or Nintendo, but they can at least do well and try to make some ground with Game Pass, with cloud, with everything. And then as long as they do better, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Yep. So yeah, you're not going to get like Pokemon on Xbox. You're not going to be the best-selling Japanese game in Japan, but you don't want to be in a situation where they are in now, or at least where they were in, where you have huge companies like RGG Studio being like, "No, we just won't put Yakuza over there," or "Nah, Nier Automata, we could put it on Xbox. They're not really paying us to not do that, but we just don't think there's an audience, so we just won't do it." And then both of those games come out. Nier Automata wins Game of the Year in some places. Yakuza 0 is a really, really awesome game in my opinion, and did score well. And both those games just don't come on Xbox because they just didn't think that it was worth it to do it. It's not that there was some kind of agreement, just you don't want huge creative teams in Japan to be like, I don't think it's worth it to put the time in to release on your platform. That's supposed to be the premier platform in the world.
Right.
So Phil's doing everything he can to stop that train of thought. And I think it's working.
Yeah.
You don't get Kojima. Kojima's rich, right? Kojima can do whatever he wants. And if he
Absolutely.
even if Sony's going to pay less, if he really thought that Xbox wasn't the right idea, he wouldn't do it because he doesn't need he's not going to have trouble getting funding for whatever he wants to do. So the fact that he signed on there means that there's progress being made. And that, like, we love Kojima here, but they also love Kojima in Japan. So when other teams start seeing, hey, well, Kojima is like actually like, it's like when LeBron James goes to Miami, look at everyone that comes with him. It's like that.
Exactly. Oh, they're going to win a championship. I want in on that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who doesn't? H1 or 1H1D in the chat said, who's the guy that started to make a game, then tried to grovel to come back? I think he's talking about Scalebound and Platinum Games. I think that's what he's referencing.
Did they grovel to try and come back?
Some comments in the media. I think we talked about it. Comments they sounded like they wanted to be bought, but yeah, no, I think I get what
Can
he's
you
saying,
buy us,
but,
please?
yeah, please, money, please.
That guy's a little strange, man. If you go on his Twitter account and talk to him or comment
everyone.
on him in English, he'll block you.
Blocks you
because he says people that speak English are like bugs or something.
The guy at Platinum Games,
really?
Hideki Kamiya, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's rude.
His Twitter profile literally says, "Don't speak to me in English." Like English speakers are like bugs or something weird like
Google
that.
Translate got it.
It literally just blocks you. It's the weirdest stuff. But we can transition from Japan to handhelds because Xbox has entered the handheld market, kind of. So officially confirmed yesterday in an Xbox Wire post, Xbox Cloud Gaming is coming to the newly announced Logitech G Cloud gaming handheld when it launches October 17th. The Cloud app will be installed automatically on the device, allowing you to stream Game Pass games, but you can also use the device for Xbox Remote Play and stream your entire game library. The new device will feature a 7-inch 1080p IPS touchscreen with a 16:9 aspect ratio and 60 hertz refresh rate. A Qualcomm Snapdragon 720G processor, 4 gigabytes of RAM, 64 gigabytes of storage with option for memory or micro SD card expansion. No 5G or SIM card support, Wi-Fi only, and the device currently will retail for $350. Guys, I got lots of thoughts on this one because my initial thought when I see the announcement, I think Jez Corda was the first one I saw post it. I go, that looks awesome. Like, I'm in. This is gonna be exactly what I'm like, remote playing, like my lunch break at work, or like when I'm out of the house, or the girlfriend's doing so, like over at the girlfriend, would have been fantastic. I'm like, show me 150, 200 maybe price point. Then I'm like, it's cloud only. It can't be that much. I see people then start posting 350, 300 right now if you pre-order it. And I go, in what world? I'm completely out. You know what I can get for almost that much? $50 more can get me a Steam Deck. And then you know what? I'm not streaming games. I'm playing them natively on my Steam Deck because it actually has a GPU in it. This literally is a tablet that you're just streaming to. I don't understand where they're getting this price point. This for me is dead on arrival at this price point. I cannot fathom it. Eric, what are you thinking about the Logitech G Cloud?
Okay, so I think that this device is kind of like a canary in the coal mine. I think it's like a market tester. The reason why the price is so high is because Logitech's making it. Like, Logitech is not going to benefit at all from software sales or subscription sales. They're a hardware manufacturer. They make like mice and headsets and stuff like that. They have to pad margin in there in order to make money off selling this hardware. They're not trying to get the device in people's hands so that they can spend money in their store or subscribe to their services, which I think is destined is like a recipe for any console to be a failure, because ever since the PS1, that hasn't been the case. Like, they haven't been trying to make money off of hardware. It's being the money's made off software. What I think could happen, and I think the one thing that could save this, is if they want to give it this kind of perceived value of being this expensive device, only for Xbox or Microsoft to then kind of subsidize the price with a Game Pass subscription, kind of like all access. But even still, they would have to make those monthly payments like really, really small because, like you said, you can buy a Steam Deck for $50 more. You can buy a Switch for around the same price. You could buy a used Switch for way less. You could buy a Backbone and a really cheap $100 Android phone off of Amazon for way less, and then do xCloud from there. When I look at this, the only thing that I really would want to play on it is like Wild Rift or like Hearthstone, because I'm not yet a believer in cloud gaming. At least serious cloud gaming. I'd rather have a Switch or a Steam Deck. So yeah, it's pretty obvious the price is insane. I think this is also dead on arrival. I think it's only meant for people that want to review it, like tech YouTubers or like enthusiasts who want to pick it up and mess around with it and have tons of expendable income and don't really care. It's definitely has no chance of being a like very successful consumer product because it's just priced out of that. It's not going to happen. And honestly, I don't think it really looks like a premium product that would kind of justify being in this premium market, because it's not going to perform like a Steam Deck would, or like or I guess like there's nothing really like a Steam Deck, but it's not going to perform to the cost really. So hopefully it's a long play where Microsoft is just seeing if people have any interest in that, and maybe they'll make their own and then not have Google in there, because paying Google for the rights to use the OS is part of the inflated cost. And if Microsoft can make their own device that's cloud only, they can drop the price down, and then maybe, like I said, like have some sort of subsidy with Game Pass Ultimate or something like that. But yeah.
It's before I throw it to you, Ethan, because I do want to touch on that about Microsoft making their own handheld. I don't think they're going to, because I think they're very much committed to, well, why would we make a product and potentially have to take a loss on it, even if we could make some money in software sales, when we can just put our thing on every other mobile. Like there's so many, like you have your phone, you have the Steam Deck, which I know officially you can't do it on, but like they know you can do it on it. Like they're completely fine with it. You have this thing now. So it's like, why should we take a loss in money when we're already presumably losing on Game Pass to try to further our position in the market? That's all I wanted to say there. I think they're very much committed to, we're going to get it everywhere on every mobile device, but we're not going to make the device.
Yeah, I think that that's why I think that they might have kind of padded margin in there. So the few random people who decide to spend an insane amount of money on something that's not worth that much money, it's still kind of profitable. But then on the flip side, the way that they get it into other people's houses is as like a gateway to subscribe to Game Pass. So instead of paying, like, I don't know what Americans pay, but in Canada, it's $21 a month for Game Pass Ultimate. Maybe they make it like $27 a month. And then you also get this device, like for if you subscribe for 2 years, like that kind of thing. That is the like in my mind, that's the only way it makes sense. Other than that, like you said, it's priced to die, essentially.
Ethan.
Yeah, I don't see any use case for this, especially because it doesn't have data, because there is something that has data, your phone, and you can remote play on this, and you can buy a Backbone for it that's much cheaper, or you can just bring your controller and have a little hookup right there if you want to do that. There's no reason to get this, in my opinion. If you're going to be playing in your house, why not just play your Xbox on your TV? Or are you really going to buy a $350 device for those moments where your wife is using the TV and you want to play games? I don't think it's that much worth it. Just use a laptop if you want to remote play. Yeah, like you guys said, this is priced out of any idea that this could be a successful product. And you know, I never thought about what you said, Eric, how this is kind of like a testing the waters for a product like this. I like that shout out there, because I didn't think of it that way. So that actually makes a lot of sense. But yeah, this isn't going to really go. This is a luxury item. I think people who have a lot of money, who are serious enthusiasts about gaming, like if I had a crap load of money laying around, yeah, I'd buy this. Of course, it's part of my collection now. I would never use it, but this is purely a luxury item. I don't think any regular gamer is going to buy this and use it a lot.
I could buy it. I'm not going to. I think it looks nice. Like I like the color. Yeah, I could do it. I just, especially when they're putting out they're gonna put out a streaming stick soon, like that can plug into your TV. Like if I'm going, so like I'm just gonna plug in my stream. If I'm going to play cloud in my house, I'm just going to do it on a little streaming stick somewhere. It's
kind of makes me a little worried as far as what that streaming stick's going to cost now. If that's like,
man.
what's the difference between there's like a really cheap 1080p display and a couple buttons? Like, is that really worth like a $200? Because I'm expecting the streaming stick to be like $75.
So someone told me I don't understand the cost of materials and like the internals, and I was like, "There's nothing in it. It doesn't have a GP. It doesn't have anything. It's literally not do.
It's
It's a
basically
phone."
an app.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't know who this is for. I'm overall confused on the pricing for this. I don't think we're gonna hear about this. It's gonna come out and then it's gonna disappear. So
Yeah.
all right, we can move on to story number 4, which that's not the right title of this story. That's the right title of this story, and I got everything wrong here. Let me tell you guys. Story number 4, despite saying 5 on the screen, Xbox got a DRM update. So digital rights management, for those that don't know, this comes from Jez Corden at Windows Central, confirmed by Xbox engineering lead Eden Marie. Microsoft has reduced the amount of DRM checks for Xbox One discs, although they may still be day one update requirements, particularly in scenarios where the full game isn't available on the disc itself. This should reduce frustration and allow more access in situations where internet access isn't possible. So, Ethan, I'm going to throw it to you over there as Mr. Physical Copy. What are you thinking about this? Good move?
Yeah, great move. Not everybody has constant access to internet, and I understand that. I understand there's not a lot of people that don't have a lot of access to internet anymore. I think it's very specific cases. But I mean, it's a step in the right direction. It's a good thing. DRM's not really something I would ever have to worry about again, but I will say there is a large chunk of people, especially in the military, who have video game consoles, and a lot of times their games can't play because you just can't access internet when you're deployed. So I think that is the group of people that it'll affect the most. That's probably the most sizable group of people it'll affect. And then obviously there's issues with poverty where people can't have constant access to internet, and they should be allowed to enjoy this hobby as much as anyone else. So they shouldn't have to have constant internet access to play the games that they own. I don't think we should have any DRM checks. I think they should be gone and buried for the rest of time. But step in the right direction, I guess.
Illegal ROMs for everyone.
Yes, let's do it.
Eric, we can go through this quick. What do you thought?
Yeah, I don't have a ton to say. I will say that I think should be a tiny bit of DRM, just a little smidge maybe. But yeah, I mean, I'm just viewing this as a positive. It's another goodwill gesture from Xbox, who seems to be chucking goodwill gestures out left, right, and center for the last couple of years. I think that every time they do something like this, it just builds more and more faith in them. And I think that's all part of the plan to kind of come back to the glory days of like the 360, where they were like heavily competing and oftentimes beating their biggest competitors. And every little time they have a nice, like PR friendly goodwill gesture like this, even though it's relatively a small thing that's not going to really impact most of their customers, but it's a nice headline, and they're just going to keep stacking those until they're back on their feet completely, which you love to see it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I buy all my Xbox games digitally, so I mean, you still do have DRM checks, but it's not. It's a different situation. First of all, my Xbox never leaves my house, and my house always has internet, so this doesn't affect me. I'm glad for the people that it does affect, like you were saying, Ethan, but I just wanted to get it out there so people know, hey, you can take your Xbox and play offline for a little bit longer these days. So
yeah,
we can roll right along to our Game Pass update. The second update for September is now available, and we've talked about quite a few of these games, so we probably won't stay on too long. But available now, we have Deathloop for cloud, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. We have Hard Space Shipbreaker for cloud and Xbox Series X and S. We also have Spider Heck for console and PC, Beacon Pines for cloud, console, and PC, Slime Rancher 2 for cloud, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. September 27th, we get Moon Scars for cloud, console, PC, and Grounded finally fully released for console, PC, and cloud. September 29th, we get Let's Build a Zoo for cloud, console, PC, and we get Valheim for PC. September 30th, this is probably going to be my next Make Me Suffer game over on Patreon.
This is what's coming next.
Paw Patrol Grand Prix for cloud, console, and PC. Eric, any of these? I mean, we've talked about, I think, the big ones at the start. So I don't really know if we need to go through and be like, any of these sticking out. I think you can go back to our "What You Playing" section if you want to hear the ones that really stick out to us. Unless there's any of these that you're really excited for. Maybe you're a Let's Build a Zoo guy. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about a lot of the heavy hitters already. I will give a shout out to Grounded. I think that game's going to sneak up on people and surprise people with how good it is. I think that Obsidian is a great team and they've gotten a huge influx of cash. And I think that there's a lot of awesome ideas here. I think a lot of people may have dabbled in the early access and thought that was it. And I think they're going to be shocked with how the game ends up turning out. I also will give a shout out to Slime Rancher. I think Slime Rancher is great. And one kind of like parenting life hack for anyone who has like younger kids that don't really play first person shooters or anything like that. The Xbox Copilot feature is so awesome because as a parent, you can kind of just like control the analog sticks and the aiming and the movement, and then have your kid just pull the trigger for something like Slime Rancher. And they just have such a good time with that. And it's like, they are kind of, you're training them to be the Halo prodigy you want them to be, but they're not getting exposed to the violent side of that yet. So I had a lot of fun doing that with Slime Rancher 1, and hopefully we'll kind of rekindle that with Slime Rancher 2.
That's awesome. Ethan, any of these sticking out to you besides the ones we talked about already?
Yeah, I'm going to shout out Slime Rancher 2 as well. That's a day one play for me. So excited. Taylor in the chat. Taylor in the chat said, "Move aside, Starfield." Amen. Slime Rancher 2 is here, everyone. We're really excited for that. Other than that, no, not really. Just the ones we talked about at the beginning. Paw Patrol. Can't wait for you to play that, Kevin. It's going to be great.
Please, patrons, if you're listening to this, please don't make me play Paw Patrol Grand Prix.
Y'all know what that means, patrons.
Think about the gamer score, man. It's 1,000 just sitting there for the
I just got 1,000 on Race with Ryan.
Exactly.
They made and before that Peppa Pig.
And Peppa Pig. That's what they do. They make they're like,
right at the end of the year too. You'll get that true achievements like yearly breakdown. You'll have a nice spike in December.
All right. Well, if you want me to play that, you can go over to patreon.com/savethegamemedia. $1, you can suggest it in the Make Me Suffer tier thread, and then our $3 and above patrons can choose the games in a poll that's going to go live in November and December. So that sounds appealing. And then I'll make a review for it. Special Patreon only review. Okay. That's what we do here. You guys get to see me be miserable. So that sounds fun to you going over there. But none of these games, I'm not. Grounded's cool. Grounded's cool. I want to go back for the full release because I did I had fun during, and I'm not even a survival guy. But
I was gonna say, really, you're playing Grounded?
I liked Grounded. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it.
We're jumping into Grounded then, Kevin. It'll be.
I'm gonna have to re-download it.
It's fun, dude. Travis from IGN was talking about it, and he was saying that he's not a survival guy either, but the fact that there's this like really compelling narrative that's pushing you through those mechanics, that's what makes it different. And I trust Travis, so. Blame him if it sucks, basically.
Blame him.
I will direct everything at Travis. But we can move into our last story. And that is EA is making an Iron Man game. They said, quote, "We're thrilled to share that an all-new single-player, third-person action-adventure Iron Man video game is now in early development at Montreal-based Motive Studio. The team is being led by Olivier I don't know how to say his last name, Priou, who brings experience working on past Marvel titles like Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and is joined by a dedicated team of passionate industry veterans, including Ian Fraser, Malin Lumine, and J.F. Poirier at the studio. Developed in collaboration with Marvel Games, the game will feature an original narrative that taps into a rich history of Iron Man, channeling the complexity, charisma, and creative genius of Tony Stark, enabling players to feel what it's truly like to play as Iron Man." Apologies for everyone's name that I butchered.
As a Canadian, I know how to say those French names, and it wasn't the best. I've heard
50-50, right?
We should have just let him do this story.
Sure,
yeah. If I had known.
The last one was Poirier, probably.
Poirier.
Probably. Yeah, it makes more sense than whatever I said. So I'm going to take it. Iron Man is my favorite superhero.
Really?
Yeah, I love Iron Man. Cool. Yeah. He's been my favorite since I was a child. So I'm super excited for this. I want to see hopefully it looks good. All right. I'm going to have high expectations until I see it, and then I will adjust, because EA has kind of been doing very well with these, like the Jedi Fallen Order. The sequel looks pretty good. Like, I kind of have renewed faith in EA's licensed single player games, especially because it is a third person narrative adventure. Like, and this is the team making the Dead Space remake, right? Like,
Yeah.
Motive. Yeah. So
Mhm.
that game looks, I'm too scared to play it, but it looks good from
Same.
what I've seen. So I have faith in the team right now. I can't wait to see more. Super excited. Ethan, I'm gonna throw it to you.
Yeah, I'm stoked. Iron Man's absolutely a character that's long overdue for a quality video game. And I really like this team. They're the guys behind Star Wars Battlefront 2, which had issues at launch, but it has tightened up to be a good game. And it's really fun if you want to jump in there. And then Star Wars Squadrons, that was one of my favorite Star Wars games that's come out recently. I had an absolute blast playing that game. And yeah, like you said, they're working on Dead Space. And I'm hoping they can take a lot of the lessons learned from doing this Dead Space remake and implement it into Iron Man, because I mean Dead Space is a third person shooter sort of, so it's probably going to have a lot of the same sort of mechanics as an Iron Man game would. So I'm really excited. I am like you, Kevin, where I have slowly grown to trust EA more and more with single player games that they're developing in house. Like you said, Jedi Fallen Order was one of the greatest games I've ever played in the last few years. So EA, hopefully they get another win here. I'm really excited for it.
Eric.
Yeah, I tend to agree with both of you. I actually do really like the team at Motive as well. They have some good writers there as well, like Mitch Dyer, former IGN guy who I really like.
Oh.
He's over there too, which is great. My only concern is that one, it's going to be directly compared with Spider-Man from PlayStation, which I think is fair.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I don't know what the scale of this game is going to be, because I know that Motive is a relatively small studio, at least if you compare it to Insomniac. The games that they've done, like you had said, they did Battlefront 2. They did specifically the campaign in Battlefront 2, which I think it's the worst part of that campaign was how short it was. I did like the story, and I did enjoy the campaign. I liked it way more than the multiplayer at launch, because that was like the only saving grace of that game at launch. Right now, like you said, it's a fantastic experience. Dead Space is a remake. Squadrons was a budget title that had again another shorter experience, and yeah, so they haven't really made like a huge Marvel Spider-Man scale game. So if it's going to get compared directly to that, and it's like a $30-$40 budget, like 8-hour game, I think it will still be awesome. But I think it might hurt it when it ultimately gets that comparison, even if it's unfair. But yeah, I think that's a super talented team. And I'm 100% with you. I am way off of the EA is the worst company in America train. I think Apex Legends is the best battle royale. I think Battlefront 2 is extremely good now. Like you said, Fallen Order is fantastic. The Dead Space remake, we haven't seen it yet, but what we have seen looks like they're really putting a lot of care into it. And I'm excited about that. And for what it was, Squadrons was also like really good. So they, outside of the sports games, they have actually a really good track record. Don't forget, like they literally won Game of the Year last year with It Takes Two. So they are not the worst company in America, at least like in terms of their non-sports gaming output.
I agree. Listen, yes, they have some questionable microtransaction practices, but EA recently has taken lots of steps, and their CEO Andrew Wilson I believe that's his name.
Yeah.
He literally was just saying like how they can't just focus on sports. They have to like stand on their own, basically stand on their own 2 feet. Like, it was an investor call. I don't remember the exact wording, but he was like, we got to make some more games that aren't just microtransaction heavy. And I think we're seeing that. Like he said it, and now it's coming to fruition. We're
Mass
getting those
Effect
Star Wars.
4, give it to me.
Mass Effect. Yeah, BioWare. Oh, speaking of BioWare, Anthem. I wanted to bring this up, and 1H1D in the chat mentioned it as well. But Anthem, the flying mechanics. Whoever Motive needs to go over to BioWare and be like, let's build on this flying that you had in Anthem, because
that's like 1-to-1.
That would be dope for our Iron Man game, because flying was not the issue with Anthem.
No.
That's a good call out.
And if there's one thing Iron Man needs, it's good flying mechanics. So go on over.
Yes.
Help them out. Yeah, because nobody wants to be Iron Man on the ground, like throwing punches. Like, it's so boring. What?
Yeah. I did not like the flying mechanics in Marvel's Avengers.
it's
For
terrible.
Iron Man.
There was an
terrible.
invisible ceiling.
Dude, it's awful. Hated it.
It was terrible. So I'm really looking forward to a proper flying Iron Man. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
sure.
interesting what you said about Wilson's comments, and I think like tinfoil hat a little bit, but I think once the MLB like cut ties, at least exclusive ties with Sony, I think that they kind of maybe see the writing on the wall because that was a really successful move for MLB, and I think maybe NFL might be like, hey, well, what if there was 2K football again? Like maybe that would be a good idea. That's a possibility in the future, and if that happens and the rug gets pulled from EA and FIFA as well, then they have to have something to fall back on. And I do want to give a small shout out to Iron Man VR for PSVR. That game was great. The team at Camouflage did. You can't really compare it to Anthem, but in terms of VR flying, that made you feel like Iron Man, dude. That game was great. And yeah, I just want to give them I want to give them their flowers a little bit because that game flew under the radar. It came out right before I think the next gen console. So
yeah, that's. I don't have a PlayStation VR. That's one that like that and Astrobot Rescue Mission were like the two. I'm like, I wish I could play these games just like normally without VR. But yeah, excited to see more. We'll have to probably wait quite a while for them to reveal anything.
Oh yeah,
since they still got a Dead Space to finish up, and then I assume this is their next project after that. But
yeah.
Last thing before we wrap up the show, listener question. We only got one this week. If you want to write in, you can do it in our Discord. You can tag us on Twitter at Save Game Media. Any which way you want to get your question read. This one comes from Taylor. He says, a question for the pod on Thursday. What do you think of Microsoft hypothetically releasing a digital Series X for $400 USD with an optional disk drive add-on? Is that feasible? Would you endorse that modular approach? This is inspired by the recent PS5 news about a disk drive addition separately to their digital SKU. Love your show, even if you're Xbox. Thank you, Taylor.
Love that. Love that you read that. It's great.
Yeah, I had to leave the last part in.
Yeah, it's great.
Eric, what would you endorse that? Do you think that's a good idea?
I think it gets a little messy when you have like a ton of different SKUs. Like if you had a Series S and a Series X and a Series X all digital, I'm not sure if that's the best approach. I think that releasing a disk drive though that you could optionally buy for Series S would be a fantastic idea though, because a lot of times what happens is people, like especially younger people, will get a Series S as a gift because the parents are going to buy the cheaper one, and then down the road they might want that disk drive, and having that option for them is a good thing. The one thing to consider is that like Microsoft and Sony both like are they're trying to find creative ways to get away from discs because they have to share that revenue with their retail partners, but they can't not get rid of them cold turkey because they don't want to upset their retail partners. It's like this weird tug of war. The retail partners have to sell the consoles to the people. Like Microsoft and Sony don't really have the infrastructure to do that as much as like Walmart or like GameStop does. So they need to have the consoles in the store, but they would prefer the games to be sold online. And if the games are all sold online, then those stores don't exist anymore, especially GameStop. So it's like this weird juggling thing. So the more digital only consoles they release, I think that strains that relationship slightly. So I'm not sure how all digital Series X would go, but I'm 100% down with an optional disk drive, external
Ethan,
disk drive.
Yeah,
you're Mr. Physical Copy, as you like to proclaim. You in line with Eric here?
Oh, yeah, pretty much one-to-one with Eric on this. I think it gets too complicated and weird when you start releasing different versions of all the consoles. I think we should just keep it tight. Yeah, but yeah, offering a disk drive for somebody that has the Series S, an external disk drive, absolutely. I could see it happen, especially now because it's still relatively hard to find a Series X, but it's hard not to find a Series S anymore, at least in my area. You can walk into any store and there's like 8 of them on the shelf. So some people might just be like, oh, I can just buy a Series S now and get the disk drive. That's awesome. If I want to have my old physical game collection to be able to work on my new console, that's great. So offering a disk drive would be great. And I saw 1H1D said, bring back the HD disk drive. You guys remember that from the 360?
Yeah.
That thing was ugly, but I hope it doesn't look like that. I hope it's something nice and sleek and goes along with the style of the Series S. But yeah, an only digital Series X, I think that just defeats the purpose of having separated consoles in the first place. So yeah, I hope they don't go down that route.
Yeah, I don't want I don't even want mid-gen refreshes. I said this before. I don't want a
Yeah.
pro console. I don't want. We don't really need to keep
Same.
slim.
I won't go that far.
Well, I will. I'm very much trying to keep these ones until the next generation. All right. I'm drawing the line. Last generation needed them because they were underpowered, but that's a whole separate conversation. This, when I read the PS5 thing, I said that makes no sense to me. Just buy the PS5 disc version. If you want the disc, just buy the disc. If you bought the digital edition, you clearly wanted digital games. I get what they're like. Oh, maybe you changed your mind, but like, if you want discs, just buy the disc version. It's already right there. The separate attach on doesn't make sense for PlayStation. I don't want a Series X. Personally, I would have loved an all digital Series X instead of like a Series S, but Series S is what we got. It's selling very well. I think it would be great for a Series S user because, like you said, these are the people getting it. Their parents are getting these for gifts. And a lot of the older generation, they'll still buy physical games. And if you get a Series S and the grandparents don't know, for example, that, oh, it's an all digital console, they could get you like a disc. And then, oh, instead of having to, sorry, grandma, you got to take it back. I think there is a use case scenario for it on the Series S. I don't think there's a use case scenario on it for PlayStation or a Series X because they already have them built in if you wanted it.
Yeah.
So that's where I fall in the matter. We'll see what happens. I'm sure there will be many iterations of both of these consoles. So that's going to do it for our show. Eric, thanks for hanging out. We went a little longer than normal, but glad you could stick out the entire time. One last time, can you please let people tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me for the first off. You can find me on Twitter at GamePositiveYT. You can find me at YouTube /GamePositiveYT. And then I'm also on Instagram and TikTok, but I'm not super active on there. It's just game.positive. The podcast comes out on all major podcast platforms, and YouTube videos obviously come out on YouTube. I would love it if you would check out my Inscription review. That's the most recent thing I made. I'm really proud of it, and actually put some actual effort into editing it. It's not just gameplay on top of a voice, which is what a lot of my other stuff was. So I would love any feedback on that. If you have a spare 18 minutes and change or whatever it ended up being. But yeah, thanks again for having me. Awesome chat. You guys are awesome. I love this show.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Welcome back anytime,
Oh, yeah.
Eric. We'll definitely have you back on in the future.
For
and
sure.
Everyone go check out his stuff. It's really good. Just podcast reviews, everything. Love it. Ethan, where can people find you?
They can find me at WhiteCedar1 on Twitter and PSN and Gravy3448 on Xbox.
When are you going to switch Xbox to?
I don't know.
I'm bring everything in line.
I'm just too lazy.
Okay.
I'll check it out tonight. I'll see what if I have to pay $10, I'm not doing it.
You probably do. You probably do.
Yeah.
You can find me at the Muffin Mon. It's a 1-7I and 0-7A. Follow us at Save Game Media to stay up to date with all of our latest videos. We got content dropping basically every day. Enter our God of War Ragnarok giveaway. You can find the details on our Twitter. Just go rate our No Limits PlayStation podcast show or subscribe right here on YouTube. So multiple ways to enter. You can go find all those details on Twitter. But until next week, we'll see you. Goodbye.
Peace.